What's in a language? Going by the ongoing stir in India's southern state, Karnataka, plenty, it would seem. The debate over the use of Hindi, a North Indian language in the southern state where Kannada is spoken, has just heated up, with the Chief Minister lending his weight to it. Now, all bank employees will be required to learn Kannada within 6 months or lose their jobs. Is the language tussle within India starting up all over again? And also, we take a closer look at what started it initially, several decades ago. WION senior foreign editor takes a look at the causes and the effects of a simmering issue.
In the beginning, there were numbers, mostly from the heavily populated northern states of Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh, that determined which of India's 23 languages should take precedence. There was good reason for that. If a conglomeration of erstwhile princely states, dozens of ethnicities and races could join hands to eject the British, they could surely agree to speak in one common tongue. But with good reason, no. For the languages of northern and southern, eastern and western India have very little in common with each other. Their origins lie in inherently different linguistic groups. Their scripts are illegible to each other, their pronunciation and their grammar wholly alien to those outside the regions they are spoken. This is how a stir began in southern India, primarily in Tamil Nadu, formerly Madras, which saw no reason why coming generations should learn an alien tongue and older ones unlearn their own mother tongue. Hindi was named an official language next to English and primarily for government documents, but never the national language. Regional language school instruction continued across the country. Then two things happened. An explosion of satellite television which beamed across the length and breadth of the vast subcontinent. And since the earliest TV soaps and serials were primarily produced in Mumbai and Delhi, Hindi soon reverberated every evening in living rooms across South India too. Simultaneously, and in the search for better jobs, balmier climates or just better lifestyles, Indians began to cross-migrate across the country and into each other's states. The assimilation that the founding fathers of the nation had sought, but in a clumsy way, began to take place on its own. So why the stir all over again? An agitation which is not restricted to Karnataka but has also been making itself heard in the far northeast, such as in Assam. There are two clues. One is the nature of India, a subcontinent, not a homogeneous country, a conglomerate of ethnic, linguistic and religious groups, not a monolithic entity. And the second, in the nature of governance we chose and are, when compared to countries like China, fortunate to have today, democracy. Which means that be it food, dress, culture or indeed language, no Indian will ever accept anything by imposition. Padma, WION.
All right, and we're going to be talking more about this. Joining me live on the show this evening is Rahul Ishwar. He joins me from Thiruvananthapuram. He's an author and an activist. Joining me from Bengaluru live is Mr. K.S. Dakshinamurthy. He's an independent journalist. Thanks both of you for joining me. Let me start by asking you, Mr. Dakshinamurthy, first. Now, why, according to you, is this language tussle being stirred all over again in the country?
Well, in the last few months, especially since the BJP government came to the center, there has been a perception that a lot of importance is being given to Hindi, and that's being, there is it's a reaction to that fundamentally, and also in the case of Karnataka, it's it may appear new, but it's always been there at some level, and over the last, say, 30 to 35 years, it's been coming up on and off. Particularly, there was an agitation in the 80s for the primacy of Kannada called through the Gokak. It was called the Gokak movement, where there was a demand for primacy for Kannada in education. So since then, there has been a lot of other tensions as well, but they've always been under the surface. Occasionally, they crop up. So this time around, it's kind of targeted against Hindi because Hindi is now seen to be the dominant language, and there is also this sense of insecurity.
But will imposition work?
Imposition of Kannada, you mean?
Yes.
No, Kannada already exists. It's it's the other way around.
You saw the KDA. He says you got to learn Kannada in 6 months if you were to retain your jobs in the banks. Otherwise, you face the axe.
That's right. So the KDA is basically a recommendatory body. It does not have any powers to act on its own. So it keeps giving statements like this. Sometimes it demands that there should be signboards in both languages. Because that is the job of the KDA.
Okay, all right.
But the decision finally rests with the government. So it should be seen in that light.
Okay, let me take this to Rahul Ishwar then. Rahul, what are your views? Don't you think, in a country which is as diverse as India, different cultures, so many languages, where the north is different from the south, east is different from the west, will imposition of this sort really work? Is that the answer?
There are two things. One, please remember, it was a very moderate Gandhiji who was a Gujarati who requested all of India to learn Hindi. Hindi was a cause which was very dear to his heart, and he felt that we Indians need a link language, and all the languages are equally good, equally sacred. I am a proud South Indian. At the same point of time, we need to be culturally integrated. We need to have some common link language. I totally agree, and everyone agrees with the idea that nothing should be imposed, but Hindi can be inspired. We need to have such kind of inspirational three-language policy. And Tamil is a beautiful language, Kannada, Telugu, Malayalam is a beautiful language. We need not border on language chauvinism. We should have language pride. We have our own great, beautiful languages. But language pride is different from language aggression. We need not have anything like a language parochialism, for that matter. So we should be very moderate, sensitive over this. We need to follow three-language policy. It was widely debated, and it was a very careful, balanced position that the constitutional fathers took.
All right. Just one more question, and then we'll take reactions from people in Bangalore and Chennai. But Mr. Dakshinamurthy, then would you say this is a case of majoritarianism versus state or linguistic chauvinism in this particular case?
I mean, I would put it this way, that the reaction or amongst Kannadigas is more a reaction to Hindi chauvinism. Hindi chauvinism has existed since the time of independence, and it's always been there. So it looks like as if that is the normal. But you'll be surprised that, for instance, in Karnataka, we have always studied three languages. We've studied English, Kannada, and Hindi. But if you go to the north, you will rarely find any other language other than Hindi and English. You will never find a South Indian language being taught in any of the states. So Hindi, it's the north which has never followed the three-language formula. It's the south which has always followed it, particularly Karnataka. Karnataka has always followed the three-language formula.
All right.
So the chauvinism actually is on the other side. It's
Point
not
taken.
on this side.
Rahul Ishwar, would you respond to that? That's the culture that we've seen, and it's been evident. What would you say?
I partially concede this argument for one thing. See, when our three-language policy was implemented, it was not properly implemented in the north. There was a lopsided implementation of the policy. That's a very right point. That's the reason why people like me who are strongly pro-Hindi has gone around North India saying that there has been one implementation flaw. Some South Indian languages should have been learned by people belonging to our northern brothers, apart from across the Vindhyas. Maybe Tamil, maybe Telugu, maybe Kannada, or any other. At least they should be sensitive to it. And please remember, beyond and beneath these languages, India has a cultural unity and integrity. That's the reason why a dubbed Telugu film is the most watched Hindi film in India. So please remember, there is a cultural integrity beneath and beyond all this. So let us not use language as a point of division. Language can always be a point of unity.
Point taken. So the question then remains, what happens when you're coerced to learn a language? Do you start liking it, or in all probability you start despising the language, perhaps even start hating it, if I could use that strong word at this point? But that's people's perception. Let's see, WION went around, asked people in cities of Bengaluru and Chennai. We first play out what the people in Bengaluru think, whether any regional language should be made mandatory according to the preference of various states, and why.
So it's always been there under the surface, and the Congress and the Siddaramaiah have seen this as a potential winner for them, and they are trying to tap it to their advantage.
Because there will be a lot of people who knows the native language would be visiting the bank, and it is necessity for all of us to speak or at least know to a certain extent what regional languages are meant for.
Absolutely, it makes a lot of sense, because it can help also the other person to understand what he's transacting with. So keeping the current incidents, yes, I agree that Kannada should be compulsory.
It should be made compulsory to an extent that people understand and find it easy, and people learn gradually Kannada. Okay, and being in Karnataka, yeah, it's a state language, and it should be made
According
compulsory.
to my opinion, it is not fair to impose local language.
Why that?
Because many of the other state region peoples are coming here and they are living their life here, so it is not affordable.
I think that's not fair at all, because even though there is a issue in Tamil Nadu that the center is trying to impose Hindi on Tamil Nadu, and they are not okay with that. So the opposite will never be okay.
On a general level, I don't think you can impose it. Maybe on specific fronts where you talk to customers directly, it's fair to impose, to say that you need to know Kannada to work there.
No, I don't think that's good, because I'm here from last more than 9 months. So I'm not able to talk in Tamil completely. So even if you are giving me next 6 months, I don't think I can talk fluently in Tamil. So for that thing, I think I'm out of the state.
Well, interestingly, Mr. Dakshinamurthy, we had your reaction as well in this, but we have you on the show now. Let's carry this forward. Do you think in the state of Karnataka, Mr. Dakshinamurthy, it's about Siddaramaiah? You know, we've had leaders in India. We had Nitish Kumar, we have Mamata Banerjee from the Trinamool Congress, who stress on the point, Siddaramaiah, do you think he's trying to project himself as the son of the soil in this case, taking, giving it political color?
What is interesting about Siddaramaiah's stance is that the Congress so far in all these years has never really come openly and supported Kannada the way it is doing now. Okay, but there are 2-3 points here. One is Siddaramaiah personally is known to has a very close relationship with the literati, let's say the poets, the writers in Kannada. That's number one.
Right.
Number two, he's always shown an inclination towards Kannada, even when you speak to him personally and all that. He's very comfortable in Kannada. That is one thing.
Okay.
And secondly, from a political point of view, having Kannada as a plank makes it, places him at an advantage, because the BJP is a little unsure as to how to handle this. Because the BJP, which is obviously linked to its Delhi unit, and overall the National Party is really promoting Hindi and pushing Hindi. And then you have in Karnataka a situation where the BJP is caught in a fix. Should it go with Siddaramaiah and back Kannada, or should it go with the Central Party and back Hindi? So what Siddaramaiah has done by this move is kind of placed BJP in a fix.
All right, and Rahul Ishwar, what would you say to the fact, what sort of a society would threaten you in order to impose a language as rich as Kannada, like many other languages in the country, with a past to it as well, an ancient past, and it surely deserves better than these non-liberal views or attitude that is imposed, so to speak, by the state government on the people.
I think, you need not impose anything, but, there are some sensitivities you have to take care. But, imposing and being harsh, especially about identity, community, language, race, will backfire. So you need to go to a very fine, balanced line to do it. And we are all waiting that how will the whole thing turn up. And it was unusual, because earlier in 1960s in Tamil Nadu there were violent anti-Hindi agitation. This time Tamil Nadu was very peaceful, but Karnataka went on a very harsh way. Many people are saying that there is a politics behind it. Many people say that they were trying to consolidate. They were pushing for a different flag along with the Indian flag. So I believe we should be a bit more soft and not harsh, and not to be seen as too aggressive in pushing our own regional agenda.
All right, Mr. Rahul Ishwar and Mr. Dakshinamurthy. Well, it's a fact that culture and identity have and will continue to survive for generations to come. But this process of assimilation must be an inclusive one, that's for sure, not marked by chauvinism. It's time that states must realize this for societies to thrive in a cohesive environment. Thanks so much, both of you, for joining me on the show this evening.